it just didn't seem like Tottenham got out of the first or second gears. They were just coasting, like that player who just ran through. That was just the perfect example. But there was other moments where the Man United just seemed to drop off. There was no intensity, especially in the first half. Ten Hag said the press. He said we failed with the press. Well, that was an understatement. They were just Tottenham were building from the back. They were playing it about. They were just finding the pockets. That nobody was tracking anybody. It didn't seem, and it was just terrible. Not one player on the pitch was good.
We had some interesting fixtures last weekend, and we're here to discuss everything that went on Saturday and Sunday. How are you, Jack?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Nikos. Yeah, good to be back again, and looking forward to. There's lots of stuff to talk about again this week, isn't there? So, where to start?
Let's start from the pub.
Always the best place to start.
Yeah. You were amongst a lot of Man United supporters.
I wasn't wearing my Newcastle shirt or anything else. I've got my Barcelona one on today just for something different. But yeah, it was disappointing for all of the people there because it was the main.
From you.
Apart from me, yeah.
Every time Spurs scored, you were laughing.
I was laughing, and I was talking to the guy I made friends with next to me, and he was a neutral as well, and he was saying what is going on, and he didn't even like football, the guy, and he was saying, what is this? They're just terrible. I said, yeah.
He was part of the support staff.
The support staff, yeah, and he was support in terms of supporting you, but he wasn't supporting Man United. I mean, it was just terrible, wasn't it? It was just terrible. Gary Neville said it was terrible in his analysis, and he was right. It is abysmal, I think, is another word he used. Okay. What went wrong?
Let's start from that match, because the structure was not there, and they scored, the first couple of minutes, and it was downhill from then on.
Yeah, from early on, very early.
Yeah, and it was unbelievable. Your opponent player just ran through the whole pitch.
Yeah, the defender all the way.
Nobody stopped him.
No, it was a great run, but nobody stopped him.
Yeah. And then he crossed like he was in the playing with his friends in the park.
It was like cutting through. It was like there was nobody there. It was just
exactly.
Like he was just running, and like you say, just him and his friend at the park, and nobody could believe it. I think the whole stadium, they were just silenced, but apart from the Spurs fans, just silenced. They were like, "What is this? Here we go again. Here we go again." And then it shows you Ten Hag on the side of the pitch, and you're thinking, does he really inspire any sort of confidence? Is he really going to get them going again? Do they really believe in him? No, they just carried on. It was just Spurs most of the game, wasn't it? There are a couple of unlucky moments for Man United, but mostly Spurs.
Well, we had the sending off.
Yeah, what did you think? Did you think it was a sending off?
Well, because they punished the intent, I think this is what happened. Because VAR, I disagree with that. It was not, a vicious tackle or with the stats or anything like that. Okay, but the thing is that now they look at it from the VAR, and they didn't intervene. They agreed with the referee. The referee, in my opinion, okay, I don't like discussing the referees, but he for that kind of match, he looks like he was out of his steps, and he's such an experienced referee.
Yeah, I was watching.
I don't know. He was trying to intimidate the home support. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, well, I was looking at it from another angle, from the TV angles. I mean, and I saw that the referee's position was blocked. He couldn't see behind there was a player in front of him. He couldn't actually see what had happened. Fernandez, all he could see was the name on his back of his shirt. Yeah. He couldn't see the leg or the challenge or whatever happened there. So what I reckon happened, and I saw some analysis with a former referee in the UK. They were doing a piece on TV about it, and they were saying the referee wasn't in a position to give the red card. He couldn't have seen what happened. All he could have seen was the player rolling around. So we think. Yeah. So the referee thought that
the rolling around was very theatrical.
Yeah, very theatrical. That the former referee who was giving the analysis, he said well, he must have had something in the earpiece from the linesman, from the assistant referee on the side of the pitch, to say what happened or what he thought had happened. Well, what they should have done then is they should have gone to VAR. I mean, I don't really like VAR, to be honest, on all these decisions, but they should have gone to VAR and clearly seen, even on the slow-mo replays, the zoom in, all the angles, that it wasn't endangering an opponent to the level that it should have been a red card. I don't think it was. He slipped. First phase, he slipped. Yeah. So he should have been sent off, in my opinion. Yellow card.
Yeah, I agree with you. It should have been a yellow card. And what I don't understand is when you send somebody off, okay, you should be 100% sure that it's a red card offence.
He didn't look sure, really. I mean, how could he be sure? Because he didn't see the incident. So it was a strange one. VAR should have overturned it, made it a yellow.
The thing with the red cards, Jack, is that they're destroying the matches.
Yeah.
Especially if it's early on in the match and one team is, down to 10 men. It's just it's not the same match after that.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, it does ruin the match, because we saw that the weekend before, didn't we, with the Man City Arsenal game, when Arsenal had that red card just before half time. Then it was just defence versus attack for the whole game. It was a really unique game.
So
it just spoiled the game.
And what happened afterwards is that the second half, they scored immediately after half time. And they sat back for about 20 minutes. You thought that something might happen. And then they finished it off 3-0.
The strange thing about it is, watching it at the time, and I've seen the highlights since because I wanted to watch it back, and because it always feels a bit different when you reassess maybe and watch it again. It just felt like they weren't
in the pub with the people.
Yeah, with the pub with the people and the atmosphere and the emotion and that. There was a lot of emotion, obviously a lot of negative emotion, but it just didn't seem like Tottenham got out of the first or second gears. They were just coasting, like that player who just ran through. That was just the perfect example. But there was other moments where the Man United just seemed to drop off. There was no intensity, especially in the first half. Ten Hag said the press. He said we failed with the press. Well, that's an understatement. They were just. Tottenham were building from the back. They were playing it about. They were just finding the pockets. That nobody was tracking anybody. It didn't seem, and it was just terrible. Not one player on the pitch was good.
And a couple of days earlier, I watched an interview with Dalot, and he mentioned that they were trying to press high, and you say, trying to press high where? I mean, there was no pressing. There was no. They were. It was really easy for Tottenham. There's been discussion after the match from different pundits about whether Tottenham can win the Premier League playing like this, because
we saw it at the start of last season when Ange Postecoglou first came in. First few months of the season, it was fantastic, free-flowing football, and they were winning, and they weren't losing many games. And then it all went downhill, and they turned into the Spurs that everyone jokes about in England. They bottle it, and they end up losing a run of games, and they can't beat the teams they should be beating, and things like that. They're really entertaining. I like watching Spurs when they're on form, when they're in form, when they convert their chances. I mean, they could have scored 3 or 4 more goals if Timo Werner could actually finish off a chance. He had a few, but I like watching them. They're entertaining. They're good. I like the free-flowing football, but they're not consistent, because they will have another moment. They'll have another period like all teams do. But Spurs seem to have bigger periods in seasons where, they throw it away. They definitely could be in the top 4 this season, but there's a gap there for them. But will they take it? I'm not sure. honestly don't think they will. I don't know. I don't think they will. Yeah.
And in order to win the Premier League, you need to be not just consistent, but you need to kill the other teams off. And then when you are in front, you need to just control the match in order to finish it off. So they don't look like a team with this kind of approach.
A couple of weeks before, when they played Newcastle, at St James's Park, they were again dominant. When Newcastle hadn't been playing that good, and they had a bad start to the season in terms of performances, not in terms of results. They couldn't build on their good start, and they ended up paying for it. Newcastle won, so just shows you. But it all depends on who you're playing. Of course, Spurs did play really well, but how much of that was Man United being disjointed, no press, no tactic, no some sort of tactical understanding? I don't feel like they're a team. Just on the last point of Man United, I just don't think they're a team. They're not a collective unit. They all seem to just be playing their own game and their own pace, and it's almost like they don't feel like they're in it together, as a group.
Yeah, I agree with you. Let's go to Newcastle and Man City. I watched the match. I'm sure you did as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, what do you thought of the match?
Yeah, I thought. Well, it's a great draw. Firstly, I mean, one thing that stood out for me as a fan who watches all of the games, closely, is that it was the first game I thought of the season that Newcastle performed well, not just got a good result, because it is a good result, a draw. Any draw against Man City is a good result. I thought they actually increased their levels. They were a bit more like the team of last season when they had that good spell towards the end of last season, where they were getting things together, getting players back from injury, and it's just more of a flow about the team. And it's always good when especially an early kickoff, they're at home, they have the fans there, it's really passionate up there, and really drives the players on. And I thought most of the players were playing to their level, to their expected level. And like I was just saying about Man United.
After Man City scored,
yeah,
you thought, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, because Newcastle up to that point were playing well, and they were well in the game, and they deserved to maybe have got a goal or even more, maybe, be in the lead at least. But Man City showed that quality they had. That was a really good goal by Guardiola. He cut inside Grealish to start with, skip past the player. I was thinking, here we go again. I thought the players responded really well to that, because you go 1-0 down against Man City, other teams roll over, and they came back,
especially in the second half.
Especially in the second half, they showed that energy and the fitness levels. I think that's another thing. They're building up their levels, not just in terms of effort and tracking back and closing down and connections on the pitch. I think it was also the fitness showed as well. They're back to where they should be, or closer to where they should be. And yeah, it was fantastic. And Gordon, I mean, fantastic. What a player he is. There's loads of great English players at the moment, youngsters coming through, as we've seen. Cole Palmer, we'll talk about him later. Cole Palmer, Phil Foden over the years is, he's still young, but it feels like he's been around for a long time with high levels. But Gordon, he's the next one on the production line. Fantastic. I mean, he's usually a left winger, left attacking winger, or he sometimes plays on the right wing. But because of Alexander Isak's injury, they had to play him through the middle, as a main striker, or maybe just dropping off. And he caused all sorts of problems. His pace, he's so direct, and his fitness. He's just running the whole game. He just closes down. He tracks back. He does everything. He's everywhere. And I just like his desire. And he just seems to be the perfect player for Eddie Howe, who's really good at working with young players. He seems to have just developed so much since he joined from Everton. I mean, I always liked him when he was at Everton. Not everybody thought he was going to be the player he is now, but I always thought he's got some raw ability. Just needs to improve his physicality, but he's got all the elements. He should be. I think he should be the number one there on that left wing for England on the left-hand side for sure. I think he's that good. Anyway, he won the penalty, and it was a penalty, and he deserved to get that break, and he obviously took his goal really well from the spot. So it was a great draw, fantastic.
Yeah, I agree with you. And now let's go to the craziest match I have seen recently. Arsenal, Leicester 4-2.
Yeah, what did you think when, because I was checking the scores, I saw Arsenal were 2-0 up, and then Leicester made it 2-2. Were you thinking, oh, here we go, this is a surprise?
Actually, I was switching between Wrexham's match and Arsenal's match at the time.
Oh yes, I forgot you were Wrexham fans.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm just following them, but I couldn't believe it. I mean, 2-0 up, and then they get Leicester. Leicester came back, and they were hanging on in the end, but it was really tough on Leicester because Arsenal scored these late 2 goals. And but is this the mark of a title-winning team?
Yeah, I think it might be. I mean, Arsenal never used to do this, did they? They haven't done this for years. And in the years since they've won the title, 20 years ago or whenever it was, they've not always shown that. It's sometimes been the other way around. They've lost at home to teams they should have beaten, and it's just been their Achilles heel for seasons, it seems. But not just getting 1 goal, but getting 2 late goals. that just shows you it could be the mark of a champion. It could be, and especially coming on the back of the weekend before, where that Man City game where they held on, and then they got that pretty much last minute equalised, didn't they? Man City with Stones scoring. You're thinking, can they respond? And when they went, you're thinking, so it's gone back to 2-2, and they must be thinking, oh, we've dropped points here. I know they've already seen that Man City drew with Newcastle, so they'd already dropped points, but to come back and respond to get those 2 late goals, that just shows you. And you saw the scenes in the stadium; they were loving it, and they were thinking, maybe thinking, we've gained these 2 points now already on Man City. So, yeah, let's see. But there is also, I was thinking about this. We're always talking about Man City and Arsenal, but there's a third team here now, Liverpool. I know they lost a couple of weeks ago against Forest at home. The surprise, but out of the 6 games, they won 5. So. Liverpool are the real
they won away against Wolves.
They won away at Wolves. I mean, they had to grind that one out.
It's always dangerous when they play at home, Wolves. So
yeah, and it was the late kickoff on the Saturday night. Always a difficult place to go under the lights, Molineux, and they've had a bad start. Wolves, really, they've not quite got over the line in games. They've not maybe taken the chances. They're maybe still waiting to just find their connections together, the players, or they need to find their best starting lineup as well. And obviously they were right in it as well. But then Liverpool, they did deserve the win, I think. But they had the penalty as well, which definitely was a penalty. But
my only question mark about Liverpool, I think I mentioned in the previous episodes, is the depth in the squad, because it's a long season with the European matches, with the international matches, with the cups, and they only brought in 1 player, if I'm not mistaken, and is the depth of the. So if they start having injuries or red cards, what is going to happen? Is it going to upset the squad?
That could change everything. Couple of injuries to key players, say Salah or something. Any team's going to miss Salah, but let's say like any of the front line, couple of the front line, or some of those central midfielders they have go. Or any of their star players, they're 2 fullbacks. They end up bringing the youngsters in, and like we saw last year when they had the League Cup and they had the youngsters, even though they did actually do quite well and they won the League Cup with the youngsters, it just it can change everything. And they've not got the depth that Man City and Arsenal have. They've not, and but you never know. They could have. Sometimes there's you see it every now and again. There's a team that goes throughout the season and they're lucky. They have that luck with injuries.
Yeah, the last time they won the Premier League, if you remember, they basically they were Klopp was using 13, 14, 15 players all the time. So.
Yeah, and they played even in the Champions League. They played and got far. So if they have another, that was a miracle how their players kept that. But if they can keep that for as long as possible and maybe strengthen in January, see where they're at, injuries will obviously dictate whether they sign anybody in January. But let's see. But they're right in the thick of it. And not many people are talking about Liverpool at the moment because they just assume, they're not made many signings. They'll tail off. Well, they're in the thick of it at the moment. Yeah. Early days, though.
Exactly. Another match, it was Chelsea-Brighton 4-2. You spoke about Palmer.
What a player.
But apart from that, it looks like, the ship is becoming more steadier.
Yeah, maybe
when they started really bad, and everybody thought, because everybody was teasing them in the summer about
all the
signings, but it looks like they're getting somewhere.
Yeah, because I keep mentioning today about connections. I've said it a few times, but they seem to have had that with the players now. All these new players coming in and all these egos, because they're all big players, big earning players, Chelsea have. They seem to... Maresca, the manager, seems to have brought them together in some way, or he's got some sort of synergy there with the team, which is some of the teams don't have yet. He's slowly working some magic on those players. I mean, it is Brighton. I mean, they're a good team, but you expect them to beat Brighton. And they do concede 2 goals. The goalkeeper had a nightmare for both goals. He against his old club, actually. So that was an individual error, but 2 individual errors. But it was all about Cole Palmer. I noticed it was... not many. I don't know if it was the first time. It was either the first time or one of the first time that a player has scored 4 goals in the first half. Just one player scored 4 goals for himself. So, and he could have got 5 or 6. And he was just unplayable. It was just fantastic. I saw the extended highlights of the game, and he was creating chances. There was another chance where Jackson missed. He could have made a goal. Unbelievable.
He's an unbelievable player. I really like him.
Man City shouldn't have let him go, should they? Some would say, but
it happens.
These players sometimes do just slip through the net, don't they? And
no, maybe it doesn't happen with one club, and then they go to the next club, and something clicks together, and but he's unbelievable. And then with I don't know in the Euros why he was not used that much, because it looks like he was the first substitute all the time.
And he scored, didn't he, in the final? He's got quality. He
definitely has
some danger.
Yeah, he has definitely quality.
And he strolls around the pitch effortlessly, like it doesn't matter. So fantastic.
Yeah. It looks like a player that might end up, another English player that might end up in Spain.
I think he'd be suited to a team.
That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. I mean, I'm wearing a Barcelona shirt. He'd do well at Barcelona or Real Madrid. He just strolls around. He's just oozes quality. Yeah, I like watching him as a neutral. I just love watching him play.
And we had the first 3 points for Everton.
Yeah, finally Everton got off the mark. Yeah. So that was good for them. It's been a long time coming, really, this season. But there's quite a clutch of teams at the bottom of the league who, haven't won yet. They haven't got 3 points on the board at all. They've got 1 point here and there. So it was big for them because the longer it goes on at the start of a season, anyone will know in any sport, the longer you go into a new season in a bad run without getting a win, it can play on your mind, and it can just keep going every week, that negativity. So, the players, sure, when they came in on Monday, to the training ground after that, there was a different feel to the place. They finally got that monkey off their back, they finally got that win, and it can, you might see them go on a run now because they've been in games, Everton, every week. I've said this. They've had the lead.
They've been in front, they couldn't hang on.
And they kept losing the lead. Finally, they got that win, and that could propel them onwards. Let's see.
Yes, and on Sunday we had Ipswich Aston Villa. It was a 2-2 draw.
It's another good game. Did you see some of the highlights of that? I mean, there was end to end and attacking, and I was caught some of the end of it because when we were in the pub before the Man United game, we had it on the TV there, and it was, I mean, some good goals there. That Delap, that finish for the second goal that he got, the equaliser, fantastic. Really, really, really exciting stuff. And I just looking up, and it was just sort of end to end and fast sort of pace to the game. And I like just being entertained. That's why we're here, isn't it? To be entertained and to watch great games. And that was another good one.
And I think that's the reason why globally people are attracted to the English game, because you could always feel that. I mean, even if it's 0-0 first half, you expect goals in the second half.
Yeah, there's not many games. There's not many games that.
It's not that tactical like it is now in modern football. It is about tactics, but it's not like where you see some other in some other leagues, especially in Italy, for instance, and in England, you always expect to see goals.
Yeah, what I notice is when I watch other leagues, I watch Spain and Germany. I sometimes watch just some of the German games, and they're just. The difference is the quality is still there, but the difference is the pace and the speed and the power at which they play the game. Everything just seems to be so much like you pressed on your remote for the fast forward, because everything's quicker. Everything just, I don't know, everything seems more intense, and the intensity is higher. And a lot of these foreign players that come over, a lot of them, they do struggle to adjust at the beginning. So it does take them a few weeks, a few games. Some of them it takes the season to get into it and to understand it. Exactly. That's why we like it.
And Monday, another defeat for Southampton. So what's going on with Southampton?
Yeah, it's bad for Southampton. Again, I caught some of that one, and then I watched the highlights back again. And Bournemouth on the other side, before to touch on Southampton, Bournemouth played really well, and they've had a decent start. They've been in most, a bit like Everton in a way. They've been in most of the games. They've got a few more. They've got 2 wins, and I think they've got 2 wins, 2 draws. So they've had a decent start for them, and they've got a good manager, Iraola, really good. Good tactics, and it's one of those many Basque managers.
He was in Cyprus.
Yeah, he was in Cyprus originally.
Yeah, with AEK Athens. AEK Larnaca.
That's a few years ago, and he had a good grounding there. So I mean, he's gone from there to the Premier League. It's a good, via other places. He's done really well. He did a good job in Vallecano as well in Spain. Excellent coach. And but for Southampton, there again, we're saying this about Wolves. They need to get that victory. They need to get that first one, and then maybe they can move on and start to take that confidence into the game. Because the longer it goes on, like I said before, it just plays on your mind as the player, and the manager will be getting a bit more pressure, won't he? And the fans will be on edge. It just develops. You just want to get that early win, relatively early in the season, and then that can be a boost. It's not always, but it can be a boost.
At least home matches, you expect that they were going to get some wins.
Yeah, you've got to try.
They were always throughout the years, they were strong at home.
Yeah,
not this year.
Any of the teams towards the bottom, they have to rely on their home form, don't they, to be a fortress. But the manager came out yesterday, and he was quite honest. He was saying how he felt hurt, was his words. He felt hurt from the defeat, and he said, he said himself, I didn't get to where I got to in my career through ability. I got through commitment and desire and willingness and effort. And he said, I clearly haven't, this is his words, he said, I clearly haven't sort of imprinted this onto my own team, especially today. It's not shown today anyway. So he was really honest, brutally honest. And it's nice to see that sometimes. I'm not sure the people involved with the club want to see that honesty all the time, but he was, the fans should take some heart from at least he does recognise the issues involved, and he does care. He clearly cares. Russell Martin, the manager, Southampton manager. So I hope for his sake, they stick with him, and because it's difficult when you make that transition to the Premier League from being a Championship team and Championship manager. It's his first time managing the Premier League, and he's not long retired really as a player. So I hope for his sake he can get that all-important victory, and let's see what he can do, whether he can prove himself or not in the Premier League.
We'll be here to monitor what is going to happen in the next few weeks and months. Let's go to this weekend's matches. Crystal Palace Liverpool, early kickoff on Saturday. Arsenal Southampton, Brentford Wolves, Leicester Bournemouth, Man City Fulham, West Ham Ipswich, Everton Newcastle, interesting match. And Sunday, Aston Villa, Man United, another interesting match. Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, and Brighton, Man United, Tottenham. Yeah. So
some interesting games, like you say. It doesn't get easier for Man United, does it?
No, because they have on Thursday they have the Europa League match.
Yeah.
Against Porto.
That's not an easy one either.
Away
as well, yeah.
And then you have the travel, and then you go to Aston Villa.
It's a big week for Man United. Big week for Ten Hag. It could be his last week. Let's see how it goes. Or it could be the making of him. It could go either way. But it doesn't look good on paper at the moment.
Because a lot of the fans, they came out. It's all negative. It's all very negative for Ten Hag since the defeat against Spurs. A lot of fans, they came out of Old Trafford. They have different, YouTube channels. You just watch them, their frustration. The pressure is on, and you're just wondering, is he really hanging on? Is he really, controlling the squad? Is the squad still believing the Hag, or they are expecting him to get sacked?
I don't know.
There are a lot of ifs and buts.
I don't think I have much faith in the players either, because if they do get rid of him and a new manager comes in, it's all Ten Hag. A lot of them are Ten Hag's players. It's half of his old Ajax team from a few years ago playing for Man United now. They're going to come in, this new manager, whoever it is, because there will be a new manager, I think soon. He'll come in and they'll have all these players, and they won't believe in a lot of them. They won't think they've got the quality to play for Man United or for them. And we're going to be in a vicious circle again. It's just going to go round and round and round until they get their own team and there's a long-term plan. There doesn't seem to be any planning there. So if he does go, then I can't see things immediately improving. I don't think he's suddenly going to get, this new manager's going to get a tune out of these players, and he's going to suddenly, they're suddenly going to be performing. So I don't really know what Man United can do. Do they just stick, or do they twist? It's a tough one.
There's a lot of discussion. Even some people favor Ruud van Nistelrooy to take over till the end of the season. Who knows what is going behind the scenes and behind the boardroom in the boardrooms, and it's a big discussion, and it's a big pressure, to be honest with you, on any coach. If you don't get the results, the scrutiny is not just in Manchester. It's a global scrutiny, and now with the social media and all these sites, and the pressure is really on. So he needs to start getting the results, because the team now in the Premier League, they scored 5 goals. They conceded 8 goals. Now, they don't score enough goals. They don't. It's like, and if things don't start changing, in the right direction, it's not going to last until the end of the season. Definitely, it's not going to last. I mean,
it's almost like we're sort of waiting for it to happen. It's not like you think, oh, he's going to be there. He's got the long-term plan. He will be there for the. There's so much doubt, and how can you perform when there's so much doubt as a player? When there's so much doubt in the coach.
Exactly. I mean, even there was a big discussion that probably he kept his job because he won the 2 cups in the last 2 years, but in Europe, the performance are abysmal. So this is definitely we'll be here to discuss all this and more in the next episode, and analyze everything. We're still early in the season. I keep saying that, but we do. It's only now with the European matches. We see what's going to happen, who has the strength in depth, who hasn't, and of course, if you remember rightly, a lot of the big coaches like Alex Ferguson and Wenger, they were back in the day. They were saying that the season starts in January, really, not in October or September.
Yes, it's still these really early days, but there's some themes developing already that we're noticing.
Yeah,
so
we have seen the pattern on top of, on top of the league. Are the teams that we expected that they were going to be there from from the start of the season. So we see how it develops. We'll be here to discuss it more in the next episode. I want to thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikos.